Hey, it's the Empire. Don't forget to hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell icon for more videos. We taking over. Let's go, champ. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button right now. Let's go.
Hey, it's the Empire, Geoboxing Empire, Backs for Boxing. Now, my boy Caleb Plant, man, he's doing big things in the PBC, man. And his last fight, man, they were doing big numbers. And how big were the numbers? Over a million, over 1.5 million. To be exact, 1,600,000, 608,000. That's how much Caleb Plant did. So you guys see the image on your screen, man. This is from an article, man, and this shows why Caleb Plant is in the talks to fight my boy Canelo Cinnamon Alvarez. You know, this is a big fight for not just for Caleb Plant, but for Canelo Alvarez as well. A lot of people talk about American fighters, you know, them being dominant in sport of boxing, but let's be honest, most of the fighters ethnically are African American. Now, that being said, man, Caleb Plant is Caucasian. He is ethnically classified as white in America, and that's a big deal because last time I remember a dominant champion that happened to be of Caleb Plant's ethnic background from America, born in America, and that person was Kelly Pavlik. Now, Kelly Pavlik, man, there could be other people I'm missing that happen to be Caucasian, but he's the first one that people really got behind in the sport of boxing. And, you know, as an American, Caleb Plant has the opportunity to capture the imagination of the ethnic majority in America, which is white people. They have a lot of buying power because they're the majority. Now, that being said, man, you know, Caleb Plant has, I think his biggest win, and obviously his most toughest fight, was Jose Uzagadi. I know I destroyed the name Uzakago. I can't pronounce the last name. I can't do it. But anyway, man, that fight was really good for a win for him. That was definitely a tough fight. It went back and forth, and you know, the big win on his career was Andre Dirrell. That was a really big win for him. That catapulted him up to the elite level at the 168 division. Now, man, that being said, man, Caleb Plant has been, you know, they call him Sweet Hands, and he has been dominating most of the fighters he fought, you know, and he had very few and far between tough fights. Now, I think the toughest fight he had was that guy, like I said, Jose Uzagagi. And everyone else, man, it was walk in the park, in my opinion. I've seen him take hits a couple times, but for the most part, he's dominating fights. There's not really a back and forth with Caleb Plant. The only thing he can really work on better is more of stamina. He has a lackadaisical style. He's more defensively sound. He more focused on defense and offense, but I think he needs to step his punch output up. Maybe throw more combinations, because he has stamina problems, and I think if you just throw more punches, your body will get used to being more active. That being said, it will increase your stamina. So I think he definitely needs to do that, especially fighting someone like a Canelo Alvarez, because Canelo Alvarez, well, he's a monster. And you're going to have to not just be able to beat Canelo Alvarez by one or two punches, but you're going to have to overwhelm him and beat him convincingly. There's a lot of fighters who fought Canelo Alvarez who outlanded Canelo Alvarez but still didn't get the nod, right? Austin Trout outlanded Canelo Alvarez, right? Arizona Laura outlanded Canelo Alvarez. Floyd Mayweather outlanded Canelo Alvarez. And in one of those three fights, in the Floyd Mayweather fight, someone gave Floyd a draw. And you see how the other fights went. The other fights had Floyd Mayweather, Canelo Alvarez winning when he clearly didn't win those fights. So that being said, man, you know, Caleb Plant has a tough road to climb fighting Canelo Alvarez, but at the end of the day, he's a big name, and with or without the Canelo Alvarez fight, his numbers are doing bigger and bigger numbers. You know, understand that a lot of times these fighters who become stars in the sport of boxing, they fight fighters and they have a dancing partner to elevate them to superstardom. You know, Caleb Plant, he hasn't had a fighter catapult him to superstar status in America because, one, he hasn't fought a fighter that the American audience really is have seen them fight at a consistent basis, you know? Now, if you look at Canelo Alvarez, he fought people like Shane Mosley. Everyone knows who Shane Mosley is,
right? He fought people like Miguel Cotto. Everyone knows who Miguel Cotto is, and the American audience is familiar with them because they fought on pay-per-view multiple times, and they fought Floyd Mayweather. You know, that being said, before that happened, Canelo Alvarez was not some big name. He just wasn't, because didn't have the marquee wins. Caleb Plant could possibly do that with not just Canelo Alvarez, but someone like an Andre Dirrell, you know, fighters who fought, or even like a Daniel Jacobs, fighters who fought on pay-per-view and had successful pay-per-view events. You know, there's a lot of fights for Caleb Plant outside just Canelo Alvarez that can really bolster this guy to superstardom. Because right now, like I said, he's not fighting anyone, and he's doing big numbers. And when I mean anyone the American audience is familiar with. I still think the Jose fight was a big fight. Now, that being said, man, we're going to talk about Caleb Plant and his prospects, man. I think that, me personally, I think Canelo Alvarez is too young for him right now. Not too young for him. It's too early for him right now for him to fight. You know, I think that Caleb Plant can be a bigger star if he just fights people like a Andre Dirrell, like a Daniel Jacobs, and I think that Caleb Plant could beat someone like a Daniel Jacobs and an Andre Dirrell. Now, I understand that Daniel Jacobs looked awful in his last fight against Gabriel Rosado. He barely threw double-digit punches around. He threw less than double-digit punches around, which is less than 10 punches. So that was an awful performance from Daniel Jacobs, and I think, I don't know what happened in that last fight, but the way he looked, if he carries that into the Caleb Plant fight, he will lose. You know what they say in boxing, you're only as good as your last performance. So, man, that being said, man, yeah, Caleb Plant has a bright future for him. There's a lot of fights for him, and there's no reason to fight a big name right now. It's a big name to the point where you can't just, you have to go in knowing without a shadow of a doubt that you can beat this guy. Caleb Plant versus Canelo Alvarez, that's a close fight. It's too close, and Canelo's too big of a star. In boxing, what you want to do is you want to go into a fight where you're both just as big stars, so there is no funny business going on. And Caleb Plant, popularity-wise, can become a bigger star. He just needs to fight the right guys and move his career accordingly. So yeah, man, Caleb Plant needs to fight guys like Andre Dirrell. He needs to fight guys like Daniel Jacobs, maybe even like a Peter Quillin, because Peter Quillin is a shadow of himself. He used to be so much better, but now the guy, he's not like he used to be. Some people take L's when they're undefeated, and they're never the same. After Kid Chocolate fought Angulo, he got destroyed at 168, i.e. giving Angulo the 168 title. Kid Chocolate looked awful in that fight, and Caleb Plant could beat that version of Peter Quillin as well. I mean, there's just a lot of fights that Caleb Plant can get to really just bolster him up. And understand the guy barely has over 20 fights. He has 21 fights. So, you know, it's not like he can't do it. He's young. Maybe he wants to fight these big fights before he's 30. But these are big fights that I think he can fight on pay-per-view with. You know, these are pay-per-view event fights. You know, him versus Daniel Jacobs, pay-per-view fight. Versus Peter Quillin in New York, pay-per-view fight. And if he just keep fighting guys out of New York, I think he can build not just a fan base and fight elite level opponents, but he'll have a center that everyone knows. You know, MGM Grand is one of the biggest places to fight in the world. So that being said, man, yeah, man, Caleb Plant needs to go to New York, fight those top elite level guys in New York, and it will be a big deal. So yeah, man, let me know how you guys feel about it, though. Who you guys think Caleb Plant should fight next? I think he should fight Daniel Jacobs, and Andre Dirrell, Gabriel Rosado. Those would be big fights for him. Those could easily be made. All PBC fighters. Canelo Alvarez, that's cool, but I just think Caleb Plant is better than what people are giving him credit for. People aren't talking about how big of a star he is, and yeah, man, the sky's the limit for the kid. Let me know how you guys feel about it, though. Like, comment, subscribe. This is the Empire. Geobasket Empire. Peace.